Hello and welcome back to Active Aggression with me, Bubblebox, and today I've built this USA base and we're going to have a look at all the individual USA buildings in the game. Please be aware, of course, that this is a beta version of the game and everything you see is, of course, subject to change. So we're going to start off with the building that we start with in the game, the HQ. So the HQ center, if I can just get up, there we go. Has three numbers at the bottom right hand corner here, 3, 2 and 1. This is your DEFCON status. So at DEFCON 3 you've got a certain number of buildings available to you, and then of course you'll use your resources to go up to DEFCON 2 where you get better buildings and better or different buildings and different units, and then to DEFCON 1 where you have to pay for, of course, with your resources, where you'll get your super weapons and your anti-super weapons. For the USA it's the nukes and the anti-nukes, basically the Patriots. So I'm not going to talk about the units in this game. I'm going to talk about them in the next video. Today, or for this one, I'm just going to have a look at the buildings and tell you what's in the buildings and show you each of the buildings. So that is your HQ. Oh, wow, that's a bit of a zoom in there. That's your HQ. The HQ produces you 15 gold quite rapidly, obviously, but it also can help you to produce a number of buildings. The first one to look at is the refinery. So the refinery is used for you to collect resources. So we've got one over here. This is your refinery. This one's collecting aluminium, which is the green or sort of turquoisey kind of stuff here. You can also use a refinery to collect oil, and the oil will be transferred back to your base, to your HQ, and it will be converted into gold. Whereas the aluminium will be transferred back to your base and put in these structures here called LEMs, the storage facilities, and stored there until you want to use your aluminium. So that's your crude oil and your aluminium resource, both available at DEFCON 3 and both transported back to your base via the from the refinery. And the thing that is used to transport them are little trucks which you can buy that cost about, I think, 400 gold. Let's have a look. We've got a couple moving along the road there. So these are little trucks you can buy to transport everything to and from your refinery. It costs 400 gold. If your refinery is quite close to your base, you're only going to need like 2 trucks. And as they get further away from your base, you're going to need more trucks. You can have up to a maximum of 5 for each refinery. So that's your refinery. So the next building to have a look at is the LEM, the storage device. Now, the LEM costs 500 gold and it has 2 functions really. It serves to stop resources, but it also serves, as we've already explained, but it also serves to expand the base construction zone. So when you first start the game, you start off with your HQ and with a little area around it in which you can build stuff, but you need to expand the space because you've got quite a lot you're going to be wanting to build, as you can see. So to do that, you need to place some of these LEMs, and of course they'll double up as storage facilities anyway, so they're useful to have kind of scattered around the place here and there. Next, we've got the barracks, another important early game building. Your barracks produces, of course, your infantry, and as I said, I'm not going to be talking about the units, but it produces 6 types of infantry. You've got your basic marines, good against infantry. You've got your javelins kind of anti-tank infantry weapon. You've got your stingers, anti-air weapon, and then you've got some mortars, which are good at distance and can fire over obstacles, good for attacking infantry in buildings. And then you've got some snipers, very stealthy, can even fire without being seen against certain units. And then at DEFCON 1 you're going to get your deltas, which are really good against infantry, good at storming buildings and such like, and can spot stealth units such as the sniper. And you can also upgrade your units in this building as well, or some of your units you can upgrade in this building. For resources, of course, everything costs resources, everything costs gold, and all the units cost gold and aluminium, apart from the Delta Force, which also cost rare earth metals, which you're going to get at DEFCON 1, and of course the upgrades cost resources as well. Next, if we go back, we'll have a look at the next building, which is the machine gun nest. So the machine gun nest looks like this. I've actually got 3 set up here. This is your basic machine gun nest that you'd get, that costs It's 500 gold and 500 aluminium. Good against infantry, and it can be upgraded. If you click on your machine gun nest, you'll see two things here which you can upgrade, and you can upgrade with TOW2 launcher. Really good anti-tank weapon, and effective against all vehicles, in fact. And this machine gun nest here has a TOW2 launcher on top of it there, on top of this heavy machine gun. You can also apply or upgrade with some stingers as well. This isn't instead of, this is as well as. Cost 500 gold. Again, increases your punch against against any types of aircraft, including helicopters as well. And there's one with the TOW2 launcher on top, the stingers at the side, and the heavy machine gun in the main part of the turret there on the bottom. So that could be pretty useful. There's also another upgrade, so you have to attach these to your base initially, but there is an upgrade whereby you can actually put them anywhere on the map once you get to that stage. So moving on, back to DEFCON 3, you've got these structures here, the field generators, and the field generators will generate your electricity, and I've got a few built over here, so you can see they're kind of solar arrays. Early in the game is where you get your electricity from, and the USA base needs quite a lot of electricity, and if these things are taken out, your buildings or some of your buildings will not function. It tends to be the more powerful, more useful buildings that require electricity. The storage kind of buildings don't require electricity. The electricity that you have spare is this turquoise. It's shown in turquoise at the moment, this bar along here. Above that bar is your resources, so we've got amount of aluminium there, and an amount of rare earth metals on the right there in red, and then our gold is shown on the top right hand corner there. So the next building is the light vehicles bay. This is another fairly important early game building. You light vehicles building, and a lot of people bring out some anti-air units from here to protect them against aircraft and helicopters early in the game. And the one they generally bring out is the Blazer. This is in the current version of the game anyway. It seems to happen this way. The Blazer costs 750 gold and 500 aluminium, but you can produce a number of kind of infantry fighting vehicles, various ones, and you can put various attachments on them depending on whether you want them as anti-tank vehicles, anti-aircraft vehicles, artillery vehicles, or anti-infantry vehicles. And we'll have a look at those in the next video. So what else have we got at DEFCON 3? Well, we've got this really interesting building. I've got it up here. Yep, here it is. This building here, the hospital. Now the hospital's really interesting because you can capture prisoners, and they will go, strangely enough, the prisoners will go to hospital, and you can transfer them back to your enemy for resources. And you can see here you can trade one prisoner of war for 1,000 aluminium, or you can trade one prisoner of war for 250 rare earth metals. So yeah, I haven't done it yet in game. I haven't actually got to that stage, but if you're the sort of player that wants to kind of go on the attack from the start, maybe what happens is you'll see these bodies, half dead bodies, lying around after a battle. And if you've won the battle, you'll be in charge of that region, and you'll be able to take those injured parties or surrendered parties and put them in the hospital, and then eventually sell them back to the enemy. And they fall out of trucks, they fall out of tanks, they're just infantry units that are broken or are injured and stuff like that. And some of the infantry units, again we'll have a look at that when we look at the units, the infantry units from the barracks, that are, not all of them, but some of them are the ones that can capture the enemy units. So really, really interesting building, and also produces a medical transport helicopter which can transport up to 8 soldiers to heal, and in the process will heal the passengers, and will also heal nearby infantry as well. And this can be upgraded with countermeasures in the Armory. So this is the only unit you can actually build via the hospital. So next we'll have a look at this building, the very, very important building to get as early as you can, the logistics centre. If I can find my logistics centre, I think it's over this side. No, that's the Armory. Where's my logistics centre? There it is. Okay, got US Army written all over in case you didn't know who it belongs to. There it is. So the US Army's logistics centre, you can do a number of upgrades which can really help you to increase your income in terms of your resources. So you can speed like your trucks up, you can increase their capacity. It's all going to cost you resources, but in the long run it will pay off. So you can increase their maximum loadout capacity. You can upgrade to hydrofracking, which increases the exploitation speed of a resource field. And you can, there's another interesting structure, I should say, which goes around your buildings in the form of kind of a wall or sandbags. Surround the buildings with concrete walls and bulletproof materials. Basically doubles the hit points of any building that it surrounds. And I think you just upgrade and I think it just surrounds all your buildings. Then you've got deep mining, which can actually extend the duration, or I guess that's the amount of all of the resources in your resource fields. And then you've got this interesting vehicle here. I haven't got one of these out yet, but I'm definitely going to be trying this out. This is a repair vehicle, an armoured repair vehicle, armed with a grenade launcher as well. So it is able to protect itself or even go on the attack, I guess, against infantry and buildings. And this thing is able to repair nearby vehicles. So it's kind of a mobile repair platform for the game. Now there's one other structure here which I skipped over, you might have noticed. It's called the FOB, or Forward Operating Base. Now what this FOB does, it kind of opens up, you can put this anywhere on the map as a resource gathering point. The only problem with it is you have to attach all the buildings to it if you want to use those buildings, kind of thing. It's really weird to use. And it's called another network. It's the way USA works, and when I've played multiplayer games I've never seen anyone build a FOB. So whether that game that's going to work really well in multiplayer, we'll have to wait and see. When people get better at the game it might come into play a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I've never, an interesting one anyway. We'll just have to see if that works out or not. I think is that it? No, we've got the Armory. The Armory, which is this white building over here, without your big US things written all over it. The Armory is basically, you do all your upgrades. Now I just want to point out a couple of, that's meant to say Tusk 1, I've already clicked on that. You've got your Tusk 1 and your Tusk 2 upgrades. Now we'll have a look at those when we have a look at the units, but they're two that everyone uses. It's the big upgrade for your Abrams and other armoured vehicles as well that makes them all powerful in this game. But you've got a number of other upgrades. Now upgrades that will affect building would be this one, the CIWS system equips Gatling guns with a CIWS upgrade and enables them to target or intercept some enemy missiles in their range of fire. Now I'm assuming that goes for this Gatling gun here as well. So I'm assuming that, by the way. So I think that is all of the DEFCON 1 buildings. So we'll move on to the DEFCON 2 buildings. And the first one is the power plant. The power plants are these, with the US Army written all over the side of it. Power plants, come back, power plant, where are you? They cost 500 gold and 1,000 aluminium, but they produce 8 electricity. So kind of if you've got a lot of aluminium and you're struggling for cash because the arrays cost a lot of cash and they also take up a lot of room, these things take a lot less cash for the amount of electricity they produce, although they do cost you aluminium, but they take up a lot less space in your base as well, as you can see. For 8, the arrays only get 2, of course, so you only get 4 electricity for the same space. So that's an interesting little building to think about when you get into DEFCON 2. Also, we've got, that's the FOB again. Also, we've got the heavy vehicles bay. Now this costs 2,500 gold, 1,750 aluminium, and requires 3 electricity. So make sure you've got enough electricity when you build these bigger buildings. And this is where you deploy your heavies, your tanks and your artillery units. So Where is mine? Oh, here it is. So this is my, you can even see inside it. Look at that. Amazing, isn't it? So this is my heavy vehicles bay, and in here you can buy your Abrams tanks, you can buy your Enclos C self-propelled howitzers, your artillery pieces, and you've even got some rocket artillery, your multiple rocket launcher vehicle, very effective against infantry. This is actually really effective against buildings in bases as well, because it can fire from such a long range. Especially if you've got some recon somewhere close and you can can spot for it. Yeah, you have to. It's difficult. Yeah, basically it fires from a long way out, and you have to send units out to try and find it and kill it, basically. And that can be upgraded as well. So all these things can be upgraded, and we'll have a look at the upgrades when we do the actual units in the next video. But next, we've got the, where am I? DEFCON 2. We've got the helipad, which is over here. Here's our helipad. So, of course, what's going to be built in the helipad? Well, yeah, it's helicopters. You can get 3 different helicopters in this game. You can get the Little Bird, basically a recon chopper. We can transport soldiers as well, but it does detect stealth units. Then you've got your main attack chopper, the Guardian, kind of an Apache type chopper, 1500 gold and 500 aluminium, and can be upgraded, of course, from the Armory and from the helipad as well. And then you've got something really interesting, the Osprey, 1750 points. Really, this is just for transporting units, although you can get an upgrade of a Gatling gun for this thing, and it can be upgraded with countermeasures and CIWS system in the Armory as well. So that's your helipad, where you get your helicopters from. Next, we've got the air control center. They look like golf balls, and here they are. I've got a couple here. Here's one. They cost, how much do they cost? Let's just have a quick check. There we are. So 1,000 gold, 1,000 aluminium, and they take up 1 electricity as well. You've got to have a power plant, of course you have. Each one, well, they produced air units, basically. First of all, they produce your Lightning, your F-35B Lightning. This is kind of a ground attack aircraft, and can be upgraded as before. And then you've got your F-22 Raptor. This is your air superiority fighter for fighting against other aircraft. And then you've got your light bomber, which you can really effective against buildings. It's effective against tanks. It's effective against everything, this thing, the B2, basically. It's really, really powerful. And that can be upgraded as well. We'll have a look at that later in the next video. So what else have we got? So oh yes, by the way, you can only get 3 air units in each of the air control centers. So I've got a couple here, and I've seen that a couple of players, they have like 4 of these, and they really concentrate on going for the aircraft side of things. So next we have, whoops, where are we? DEFCON 2. We have the phalanx. Have I already done the phalanx? Oh no, I haven't done the phalanx. So here's the phalanx here. So the phalanx basically costs 500 gold and 1500 aluminium and 1 electricity, and it's good against infantry. Not that you'll see many infantry attacking your base, but it's actually more effective. It's mostly good against your aircraft, really. If they attack your base, you can shoot down choppers especially, and other aircraft as well. And apparently it can also intercept enemy missiles sometimes, not all the time. So that's pretty much all your DEFCON 2 buildings. So we'll move on to have a look at the big ones, the DEFCON 1 weapons. But first, there is a DEFCON 1 processing plant, and this is why you can't get rare earth metals until DEFCON 1, because you haven't got the processing plant to pick up the rare earth metals. So once you get to DEFCON 1, you'll be able to deploy this just exactly the same as you do the refineries for the aluminium and for the oil. It works in exactly the same way, except you can't get it until DEFCON 3. But there is an upgrade on that as well, whereby for every resource you pick up, you get a free gold. So you'll be wanting to get that early on as well. Then we've got the accumulator. This is another electricity producing building, and I've got one somewhere. Where is it? With my accumulator. There it is. That's my accumulator. So this costs, whereas you can see where this is going. So this one costs 500 aluminium, 100 rare earth metals, but it doesn't cost any gold at all. So again, if you're struggling and you're on DEFCON 1 for gold, then you can spend a bit of your other stuff and get some extra electricity, basically. And then we've got the first anti-super weapon, the Patriot. Costs gold 1500, aluminium 1500, and rare earth metals 500, and uses an electricity. This is your main anti-nuke weapon, really. I mean, you build these. Okay, I've got one here. When you build them, they will come with one missile in already, and you will have to buy the other missiles, which cost 1000 gold and 250 rare earth metals each. Each Patriot will shoot down one nuke. Okay, so if you've got more Patriots than they've got nukes, you're laughing. They can also be upgraded to give them a longer range, do more damage, and be more accurate. They'll also shoot down helicopters and aircraft as well, especially those pesky B-2 bombers. So that's your Patriot, your main anti-super weapon. Then we've got your main super weapon, and I've got a few silos built over here. Here we are, 8 of them. So these are your peacekeepers. 1000 gold, 1000 aluminium, and 750 rare earth metals. And remember, when the resources have gone, they've gone, so you've got to use these things well. Also, each one's going to cost you an electricity, and they fire nuclear missiles pretty much anywhere on the map. The range is limitless. And they can be upgraded as well. Each silo comes empty. Okay, and when they're empty, they've got the lids closed like this. And then when they've got a missile in, they've got the lids open. Like that. Okay. So if I click on a closed one, a new missile is going to set you back 4000 gold and 250 rare earth metals. But they can also be upgraded to make them faster, to increase the damage and area of effect, in other words, to make them much more powerful. And of course, everyone builds these and likes to use these in game, as well as the big tanks. So let's go back to DEFCON 1. I think I've got one more building, and it's the administrative center. I've got a couple of those. Did I build any? Oh yeah, I built a couple of those here. These are your admin centers. How much do they cost? They cost 500 gold and 3000 aluminium, and they use 1 electricity. But they generate you a continuous amount of gold, 10 gold per second, in a similar way that the HQ produces you 15 gold per second. So they're a good way. These are really, I suppose these would be more of a late game thing to keep your gold coming in, so you can keep producing units and keep the fight going. So that's all the DEFCON 1, the DEFCON 2 and the DEFCON 3 units. One last thing to mention as we're on producing gold, goes right back to the beginning. The barracks, of course, produces your infantry, and you can put infantry in another building. You can put infantry into banks, and the banks are these tall, dark, black structures. They're actually yellow on the map, so you can see where they are, and you can put infantry in there, and they will produce you continuous gold. You can have up to 6 in each bank, and the more you've got in, the more gold you will produce from those banks. And again, the gold in the banks isn't infinite. It is, it will run out eventually, and so players do kind of do battle over these banks, especially at the beginning of the game. So I think that's pretty much all the buildings explained. The next video, as long as I can fit it in before the end of the beta weekend, I will have a look at all the units, see what they look like, and have a look at their upgrades. So thanks very much for watching. Please comment on these videos. Tell me what you think about this game. Tell me if, especially in the ones I've only done one gameplay. I'll try and put another one up. Tell me what you think of it, because we're meant to be passing on like comments and stuff, or giving our, bug reports and just general feeling about the game and stuff like that, feeding back to Eugen. So let me know what you think, and if if people say the same thing, and and if it's kind of constructive criticism, I'll report that back as well. So write me a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you next time.